Hello again. You're looking eager as always. Should we get right to it? Alright. Well, this time I was looking into more Egyptian mythology, specifically Set and Horus. So, Set is the primordial force of necessary chaos in this pantheon. He basically disrupts the unity of Ma'at, who is the goddess of order and the daughter of Ra, who is the sun god, right? In early versions of the Egyptian cosmology, Ma'at was not really a person, but instead was the principle of cosmic order, truth, and balance. And she was embodied by the measure by which the universe was sustained. Now, going back to the disruption that I mentioned a little bit ago, essentially, Set fragmented Ma'at, but remember, Ma'at, albeit a goddess, she had no form, quote unquote, then. So he didn't shatter her, quote unquote, physically, but instead, what he did was he temporarily dissolved the unified state into disordered fragments. And by unified state, I mean that of reality. By doing this, Maat's unity became unstable, and thus her measure, the standard for truth, justice, and balance, was temporarily lost. This birthed a void, basically the desert, where order could be reasserted. Fragmented principles. This birthed a void, basically the desert, where order could be reasserted. Fragmented principles, like truth split into partial truths, justice into unjust acts, and so on. We also got a condition for renewal, meaning that because Maat was disrupted, she could be reclaimed as a legitimate system. So remember, despite Maat being a goddess, the Maat that I'm talking about isn't like a person or anything. I'm talking about the concept of, truth and justice and so on. All this got shattered. Essentially, Egypt used to have order. That was Ma'at. And then Set came along and disrupted that order. And because of that disruption, we got chaotic events, lies, unjust acts, and so on. And if the original balance could be reclaimed, then things would go back to normal. And this is where Horus comes in. Now, I'm sure you might know, but just in case you don't, Horus is the ruler of the sun, or, he's a solar figure. And he came from the desert that was made by Set. Now, Horus, of course, did not exist as a person, quote unquote, either, but was instead the embodiment of Maat's reclamation. Which I know also sounds a bit complicated. But basically, when Set fragmented Maat, we got the void, or the desert, in which neither the sun nor order could exist within it. And from that, Horus emerged and reclaimed it. It's a bit weird, I know, but the literal like pyramid texts that we have state, quote, Horus exists only as the ruler who reclaims Ma'at through Set's fragmentation. So there was no birthing or anything like that. Normally we see this stuff in other mythologies where gods are born from something, but here he just came to be. Either way, sometime after Horus existed, he fights Set, but not like in a physical brawl or something, but basically Set, by shattering the unity of Ma'at and throwing everything into disarray, Horus ends up reclaiming Ma'at, as in he reestablishes it, order, by becoming the sun and ruler of it. By becoming the sun, he asserts his right to rule and uses the chaos that Set brought about as proof of his legitimacy. Which, again, I know sounds kind of wild, but basically this wasn't really a fight between two gods in the traditional sense. It's more like one god disrupted order, another fixed it, and became the ruler of all because of it. That's how Horus became a pharaoh. No victory exists without Set's disruption. With him becoming a pharaoh, order is restored, and a new stabilized equilibrium is made, one where Ma'at is actively maintained. A quote from one of the pyramid texts reads, "When the sun god is broken, the world is dark. When Horus reclaims Ma'at, he becomes the sun and the pharaoh who rules the world." Pretty neato, huh? This one was a short one, and a slightly different myth compared to the ones that I've told you about in the past, so I hope you don't mind it being different. Speaking of, did you have fun? Well, I'm glad to hear that. Researching this one was a little hard, mainly because, well, the pyramid texts are so old, and we don't have too much info on certain deities, like Ma'at, for example, as a ton of this information has been destroyed or lost to time. For example, Ma'at was a spirit of justice, but we don't have much that tells us about Egyptian law, as almost no literature exists of it anymore. So we don't really know much about her from that side, except for a few things here and there. But maybe next time I'll pick a different pair, so I can give you a longer lecture. Still, I hope you'll join me next time as well, my little pupil.